Hi, I'm Peter Capaldi. I play the Doctor, and you're watching EMS Productions.
Hello everyone, welcome along to this week's Weird and Wonderful Wednesday video, my random Doctor Who video. And as you can see from the title, this week I'm taking a look at my top 5 favourite new Doctor Who cliffhangers from the revival from the last 11 years. Now I decided I was just going to focus on new Who cliffhangers because I haven't seen all of Classic Who, and there's so many, and they're very different types of cliffhangers in Classic Who, so I didn't think it was too good to compare Classic to New Who, so I thought I'd just stick at New Who cliffhangers and take a look at my top 5. Also, apologies that I'm not including going to include any actual clips of the cliffhangers themselves, but I kind of don't want to get stuffed with BBC copyright and all this kind of stuff, BBC Worldwide, because they don't particularly like anybody using clips of Doctor Who in videos, so they'll just sort of be images and stuff, and I'll put links where I can find them to the BBC clips of official clips of each of these cliffhangers if I can find them. Might not be able to for all of them, but I'll do my best. I'm sure you know them, or you've got the DVDs, or you can watch them on not Netflix, but on Amazon Instant Video or something. I don't know. But yeah, let's get straight into it with number 5. So yes, number 5, we have Heaven Sent. One of the few categories where this episode probably doesn't come number 1 as far as I'm concerned. It's an interesting cliffhanger. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will remember that back in, I don't know, June 2014, when Stephen Moffat teased that this would be a whopper of a cliffhanger. You're not going to expect to see this coming. It's going to be the most amazing thing ever. It didn't quite work out that way, but I still think it is a really, really good cliffhanger, and works really well to sort of just finish off this brilliant episode. Because of course, so it's kind of got the two strands to it of the sort of he's returned to Gallifrey. Gallifrey's back. We get the lovely panning shot of Gallifrey, which is just fantastic. Obviously, as I've mentioned before, actually, no, I haven't mentioned. Well, I might have mentioned before because you haven't seen the Heaven Sent review yet, but I've recorded the Heaven Sent review. It's quite weird the way this works out, so you might hear me speak about it in the future. But from my point of view, I've already talked about it. So anyway, well, I knew Gallifrey was coming back, and I'd been spoiled with all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't sort of as big a shock moment as it could have been. But I think I'm trying to take these as sort of the shock and factor of the actual. If you didn't know anything about the episode coming in, I'm trying to look at each of these cliffhangers from that point of view, to trying to give it a fairer test of, rather than because it was spoiled from me, it's not a very good cliffhanger, but I'm focusing on how obvious it is and how sort of shocking it is to someone who doesn't know anything coming into the episode. And I think Heaven Sent works really well with that, with the revelation of its Gallifrey. I mean, it was kind of becoming more and more likely that that's what it would be as you built through the episode. They try to sort of keep it down when he says "home the TARDIS" when he's trying to break through the wall. Trying to sort of keep it quiet and let's say no, actually no, it's not Gallifrey, obviously not. But then of course it is Gallifrey, and that's back. That's all fantastic, exciting, and then we of course get the line, just perfect line to finish it off, with the Doctor turning around, looking towards Gallifrey, putting the sunglasses on, and says, "The hybrid is me," and it's just the perfect way, I think, to sort of end the episode. Clearly the hybrid arc never really worked out very well, but at this point in time, I just love that line and the way that it finishes off with that just sort of fairly shocking moment of, actually, the Doctor's the hybrid, we're on Gallifrey, and the Doctor, the hybrid, is here. And I think it just works out really, really well overall, and finishes off such a brilliant episode. Now at number 4, we have the sort of three-stranded, if that's a word, in this context, the Pandorica opens cliffhanger, where it's got sort of 3 separate cliffhangers relating to the main characters all happening at the same time. Because and I love it when they do that, and then they do that in Dark Water as well. That's not on this list actually. Spoiler alert, it's not on this list, but I think that is a really good cliffhanger as well, and I like when Stephen does that, when he throws in the sort of, because you've got the Doctor's trapped in the Pandorica, this impenetrable sort of box that he's being sealed away in forever, seemingly with no escape at all, which is just kind of, this isn't a great situation, is it? And then you've got Amy's just been shot dead by Auton Rory, and seemingly she's just lying there sort of neck down dead, and River's trapped inside an exploding TARDIS, and it's just kind of, can this really get any worse? It's the peak of sort of, how are they going to get out of this? Because I mean, I have no recollection of actually watching the episode live. I did watch it live in 2010 when it aired, but I have no recollection whatsoever of watching it then. But from rewatching it more recently, you can just sort of see the absolute kind of having no idea of how they'd get out of that. Because sometimes with episodes with cliffhangers, there's sort of either been hinted at a way or there seems a fairly obvious way that they're going to get out of it. But in this episode, there really isn't any obvious way they're going to get out of it. And obviously it gets rather complicated in part 2 in the Big Bang. But I love that sort of moment where it's the peak of just, yeah, how are they going to get out of it? We have absolutely no idea. So yeah, that's another one of my favourites, coming in at number 4. Now coming in at number 3, rather than ending an episode, it ends a series, which is The Name of the Doctor cliffhanger, of course, which featuring the first ever appearance of the War Doctor, played by John Hurt, which I still have a vague recollection of watching it, because this was at my low point of Doctor Who interest, sadly, back in sort of Series 7 basically, kind of, well, through the whole of 2012 and up towards the Day of the Doctor, I wasn't really that interested in Doctor Who. Which it still frustrates me because I kind of missed so much of the 50th anniversary celebration stuff from that year, and it is, yeah, so that disappoints me. But this was at the point where I was more of a casual fan, but it was a series finale, so I was like, oh, I might as well tune in again, because I don't think I had watched all of the Series 7. I'd watched all of Series 7A, but I'm fairly sure I had skipped, I think, the Christmas special, The Snowmen, and a few 7B episodes as well. I think I watched the first one. I watched Bell St. John, but I think I missed most of the ones in the middle. I mean, they're all not particularly great as far as I'm concerned. They're all just pretty meh, it's fair to say. But I thought, series finale, why not? Let's tune back in for the last episode of the series. It's going to be a bit of a whopper, you never know. And I can just remember sort of going like, what's going on? What is this? There's another Doctor? What? This doesn't make any sense. And so it was just... This was pure sort of shock factor, I think. That's the other sort of real main style of cliffhanger. You can have the how does the Doctor get out of this, or the big shock cliffhanger like River's Melody Pond and all this kind of stuff, these sort of shocks. And where we get this appearance of this Doctor that we've never seen before, who mysteriously just turns up in the Doctor's time stream, inside the Doctor's time stream, yeah, with the 11 and Clara's collapsing and stuff. And then he just turns around, you get the nice little titles on the side of the screen, introducing John Hurt as the Doctor, and then I guess it must have, because I never really experienced it, but I guess it must have sparked 4 months, 6 months even, of massive fan theories and excitement and everything, and that's what we love with Doctor Who. So I just think it's an absolutely brilliant clip, and the music is fantastic on that scene as well. I mean, it's been used quite a few times in Doctor Who. How they never released it, it still frustrates me that that track never got released, because it's such a great track, and it works so perfectly with the scene with the drums at the end as well, the sort of drum roll, almost like a drum roll to "This is the Doctor" kind of thing they've got at the end. So yeah, that's one of my absolute favourites, and it comes in at number 3. Well, now then, coming in at number 2, I think I have mentioned it before that I do rather like this one. And it is The Magician's Apprentice, featuring kind of another... Is this... Yeah. No, yes, no. Well, it's kind of another triple cliffhanger. Because we see Missy exterminated, Clara exterminated, the TARDIS is being blown up, and the Doctor's about to kill young Davros. And yeah, that's quite a big cliffhanger. And because I have such good recollection of this episode, I can kind of picture myself watching every Series 9 episode, and I just remember when that episode finished, the whole sort of Doctor Who, everywhere I was looking on Twitter and on Doctor Who TV and stuff, everyone was just going absolutely mental about kind of the episode and just that cliffhanger, the way it ended, because it was just sort of such absolute shock factor that they'd actually go all out like that in the opening episode of a series, to just go out and kill off the main villain, kill off the companion, blow up the TARDIS, and then have the Doctor pointing a Dalek gun at Davros and saying exterminate. It was just absolutely... Clearly, it was never going to pan out like that, and they were always going to find an easy way to reverse it or whatever. But at the time, that just didn't bother me, because I knew that, but it just... And I just think it's such a brilliant cliffhanger overall, just the whole way it's worked out. Again, the music is fantastic on that final scene, reusing The Terrible Truth from Asylum of the Daleks, Series 7. Clara's first appearance, and then she had that same music is played. Well, not Clara's first appearance, Jenny Conway's first appearance, and that music's played when Oswin dies, and is played when Clara seemingly dies in this episode as well. So there's a nice bit of continuity that, as that episode is full of. But yeah, I just sort of love that shock factor of, and also the sort of moral dilemma of, is the Doctor actually going to kill a young Davros? Or as we actually find out, it's just a bit of Moffat trickery with the organisation of sort of showing of particular scenes and stuff, although I guess, as I mentioned, the Doctor just felt like saying exterminate for dramatic effect, I think, or maybe he has to say it to fire the gun. I can't remember how that works. Well, not because the Daleks always shout exterminate before they fire the gun. Have we ever seen the Dalek gun be fired without them saying exterminate? So they've just done it? Or do they always, well, like for the first shot, I mean, because once they get started they can just sort of go and so on. But anyway, getting a bit off topic, so yeah, I just absolutely love it. I remember on that Saturday night, it's kind of quite sad, it took me hours to get to sleep that Saturday night after the opening episode. I mean, it was like 1 AM before I was actually asleep, because I was just kind of so, the hype of the start of a series and then that episode, it was just kind of too much to almost sort of chill out from it and kind of get back into the real world for the next 6 days, and having to wait those 6 days for that resolution of the cliffhanger, of that sort of a cliffhanger. So it was just, yeah, I absolutely love that one. Well, before I come to the magical number one, which I have a feeling I might have actually mentioned it in a review video, what my number one is. Maybe you can guess anyway, or maybe I have mentioned it, I'm not sure. But I'll give you a few honourable mentions of ones that I quite like but didn't quite make the list. And so I thought the Army of Ghosts, I think that has a really good cliffhanger in it, so where throughout the whole episode it's all focused on the Cybermen, it's the Cybermen coming through the void, it's all the Cybermen sort of plan and doing, and then suddenly in the last like minute of the episode, 3 Daleks come out of this massive sphere that everybody's convinced is filled with the Cybermen, and suddenly Daleks appear at the very end, and I love that sort of shock cliffhanger. I can't remember whether it was spoiled beforehand, I have literally no recollection of 10 years ago watching that. So, but as a sort of cliffhanger watching it nowadays, you can see that it's just such a great sort of shock value of the Daleks sort of hit out of nowhere, and we thought it was all a Cyberman story, we got Daleks and Daleks as well, this is amazing. So that's a really good one, and I also really like the Time of Angels, when the Doctor, it's kind of one of Matt Smith's early sort of epic moments, spoiled by Graham Norton's little caption thing coming on the screen, I believe, in the first airing even. But and then the Doctor sort of gives his speech about, if you're in a trap, there's one thing you don't want to put in a trap, it's me, blah blah blah, and then he shoots out the sort of thing which looks like the complete opposite thing of what you want to do, shoots out the lights, which is going to effectively let all the angels kind of clobber them. And it's yeah, so it's just a really sort of exciting moment that really makes the episode so great, and it's really sort of, the shots are done really well as you see this sort of the globe thing which makes all the light just shatter into pieces and then freeze frame and sort of cuts to be continued. I think that's a really, really good cliffhanger. It's not sort of one of the shock top 5 epic cliffhangers, but I think it is a really good, nice cliffhanger for a sort of mid-series episode. A bit like sort of some of the ones we got in Series 9. I mean, they're not that great in Series 9, a lot of them, but they were quite good. Well, a couple more honourable mentions. A Good Man Goes to War, where we get the shock of Melody Pond, River Song is Melody Pond, which you could have predicted a mile off, frankly, light years off, and I have a feeling like most people had already worked out that it was that. But from the point of view, as I said, of not knowing, sort of expecting it, having any spoilers or anything like that, then it is a big shock factor, which is the other style of cliffhanger that I like. The big shock factor of, what? River Song is Amy and Rory's daughter, this is what's going on? So I think that's a really good one. And one final one that I really like is the Darkwater cliffhanger. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, where we have the 3-pronged sort of cliffhanger again with Missy is the master, Clara's it's got a Cyberman about to attack her, and Danny's about to delete his emotions. So I like, as I said before, I really like those 3-pronged cliffhangers that we get on occasion with Moffat only, really, and that we get with him, which just works out fantastically for the sort of story, I think. So that's pretty much it for the cliffhangers, except it's now time for number one. So my number one cliffhanger, it comes from The Stolen Earth. Maybe a slightly surprising choice, I don't really know, but I adore this cliffhanger. The resolution is terrible, I don't have any qualms with that, but as a pure cliffhanger, I think it is unrivaled in Doctor Who history. Sorry, just because looking at it from the point of view of not being spoiled about when David Tennant's leaving and this kind of stuff, or not knowing that, the pure shock of seeing the Doctor in regenerating and then going to be continued as the Doctor's mid-regeneration. And at this point we've never seen the Doctor not regenerate fully if he started regenerating. He's always changed into a new person. And so the absolute sort of shock of the Doctor's regenerating and we weren't expecting this to happen, and he's regenerating, and so next week is it going to be someone else? Is it going to be a new Doctor next week? This is absolutely incredible. So and after that, it sort of worked perfectly. Really good writing by Russell, when the Doctor and Rose are about to meet again after being apart for 2 series when they basically love each other and all this kind of stuff. But then the Dalek gets in the way, shoots through the Doctor and forces him to regenerate. And so just as Rose meets her sort of crush, almost, best friend, basically, best friend ever kind of thing, that he's now going to change into someone new, and we weren't expecting it, and suddenly he's up there regenerating, his head goes up, the regeneration energy is all around him, and then it just cuts to the to be continued. And I don't think there's a next time trailer. Is there a next time trailer? I'm not sure if there's a next time trailer. I haven't watched it that recently, frankly. I know I'm doing this video without even watching the cliffhangers first. Terrible of me, really. But no, I do think that's just pretty new, and clearly that got, I can't remember it, but from what I've read, it did have people talking throughout that week, and I mean the viewing figures are huge on that last episode, because that's the point where Doctor Who reaches must-watch TV. When you've got that sort of a cliffhanger, which is leading into next week's episode, is there going to be a new Doctor? What is going to happen? That's the sort of must-watch TV that Doctor Who used to be, but I don't think ever will be again, sadly. But just for this cliffhanger, I think it just works absolutely perfectly for setting up a cliffhanger with a terrible resolution. And I do wish one day they would actually do a surprise regeneration. I don't think it'll ever happen, but it would be so wonderful if they did, because it just, to have that shock of completely unexpectedly having a new person playing the Doctor, it's impossible probably to have it not leak nowadays because of spoilers and inside sort of reporters and this kind of stuff. But if they could somehow pull it off, to have the Doctor regenerate into someone new without us expecting it, without us knowing who it is before they regenerate, then it would just, I think it would just be brilliant. And clearly it's what they almost pulled off here, but they should have gone through with it and actually changed David Tennant at that point. That would have been even better, but then he wouldn't have got the end of time, and which I quite like. So there we go, that's pretty much it. That's my top 5 new Doctor Who cliffhangers from the last 11 years, the revival. Do let me know if you agree with my list, or what your favourite cliffhangers are from these last 11 years of wonderful episodes and lots of great cliffhangers. Clearly there's probably some I missed out that you really like. Maybe I haven't even mentioned one that you think's the best ever. Who knows? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll sort of have a little discussion with you, if you like, about the various cliffhangers of Doctor Who. And well, that's pretty much it for this video. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, as I said. I've been Elliot, EMS Productions, and I'll see you again very soon for another Doctor Who video. Goodbye.